G'day guys, welcome to episode 3 of What a Character, brought to you by the Collectorverse. I'm Jason Bond and I'm going to be telling you all about the classic character Wonder Woman. There's over 75 years of history to go through, so we're going to try our best. Okay, she's known by many names. Diana, Princess of the Amazons, Diana and Themyscira, Diana Prince, and the daughter of Hippolyta. I know some of these Greek words are a lot to get through, but just bear with me. Okay, she was created by William Marston, who used a pseudonym called Charles Moulton. He was a psychologist who wanted a female role model in the comics, and he based her loosely off his wife. She first appeared in 1941 in All-Star Comics number 8, and there's been many different versions of her over the years, guys. So we're going to break this down into the different ages, okay? So of the different origins, there's one where she was sculpted by clay by her mother and life was breathed into her by Aphrodite. The more modern version is that Zeus actually slept with her mother and actually she was born. Now, as I said, there's in this, so Zeus is her father, and the bracelets that she wears actually contains a lot of his power. So where the beliefs is that these are just indestructible bracelets that you can use to deflect bullets, and that it actually serves another purpose as well. She was created to dispel the damsel in distress theme that was pretty common in the comics in the day. So as I said, the psychologist wanted to create a female role model that young girls could get behind and actually believe to aspire to be more than just the damsel in distress waiting for a big strong man to come and rescue them. So you can see why she was a leading figure in the feminist movement, to be honest. So yeah, as I said, in over 75 years, we're going to break a history down into the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, and the Modern Age. So with the Golden Age, there's some subtle differences in each of the ages. So in the Golden Age, Steve Trevor was washed up on her island. It was during World War II, being chased by Nazis, and they held a competition for an ambassador to go into man's world. So Diana won the competition and she became Wonder Woman, the Amazon's ambassador to man's world, and predominantly fought the Nazis during that era. In the Silver Age, her origin was a bit more revamped. She was blessed by the gods in her crib and given powers such as the beauty of Aphrodite, the wisdom of Athena, as strong as Hercules and as fast as Hermes. These sort of themes have continued on more into the modern age. In the Bronze Age, which was the 70s through to the early 80s, she joined the Justice League for the first time, became a founding member of the Justice League, and the eagle symbol that you see here was more replaced with the Wonder Woman symbol that you see here. So these were subtle changes to the character over the years. In the modern age, and this series pretty much ended in 1986 after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which brought continuity to the DC mainstream comics and made a lot of the titles overlap. So when an event happened in one comic, it was talked about in the other. Whereas before, you know, there was a lot of discontinuity where something had happened in one comic and in the other comic they had no recollection of the event ever happening, or they'd meet someone for the first time and you're like, well, hang on a minute, they met them a few years back. And so yeah, there was all that, they sort of fixed up with that event there. So in that one, Wonder Woman becomes an emissary to man's world. This is without Steve Trevor. Like, Steve Trevor comes into play later, and she's a founding member of the JLA. In that era, there is a lot of story arcs and that to cover. Really, she comes into her own. There was flagging comic book sales leading up to that. The TV series that came out, which we'll go into later, rebirthed the character somewhat. So she became like a feminist icon of the 70s, early 80s, and basically became a really big, powerful character of her own right at the end of the realms of, like, say, Batman and Superman as an equal standing. Then came the New 52 continuity. In this one, you actually find she can never return to Themyscira. When she's left, basically they've entered into another realm and she can't contact them, they can't contact her, and you find that other continuity story arcs where she did travel back there was all just implanted in her brain by a supervillain, Ares, to mess with her mind. Now, in the new continuity, as I said, she can't return to Themyscira, and you see the difference in the looks over the ages of here. So we're going through like 75 years of comic book history. This is this one here is more Wonder Woman pre-Crisis. This is the what we would call the Bronze to Modern Age Wonder Woman. This is more the Jim Lee Wonder Woman just before New 52. And here's where you get into the New 52 versions here. So in New 52, there was some radical changes. She was a lot younger, she was a lot more aggressive, she was a lot more brash. She comes as an ambassador of peace to man's world again. This is where she meets Steve Trevor and basically comes to meet the United States government and helps out with their Argus program, which we've talked about before. So with Argus, Steve Trevor's the head of Argus and he's the Justice League liaison when they form, because the government's very well, not superstitious, but more wary of these new superpowered beings that are coming into play, and they start up a lot of research into old myths and mythology and stuff like that, and items of interest, realising that there's probably a lot more of these myths than what there used to be because of people like Wonder Woman coming forward. Another big change in that story arc, the love affair with Steve Trevor doesn't last very long. Once she meets Superman, they become infatuated with each other and they strike up a, well, they become lovers basically, and that continues until the death of Superman when we go into the rebirth and with the new Superman. So, needless to say, the new Superman's married to Lois and this is the old Superman that's back and everything, so she witnessed him die and sees the new Superman be right there. So that's essential reading there if you want to get into that and jump into the rebirth where you see Wonder Woman being there at the death of Superman and how that affects her and stuff like that. Now, her powers and abilities have changed vastly over the years. As I said, like there was ones where she was sculpted from clay and the powers were limitless. There's ones where she's been imbued with powers of the gods. So more in the modern incantation, they've gone down that route of that, yes, she does have the beauty of Aphrodite, the wisdom of Athena, strong as Hercules and as fast as Hermes. Now, she's also a skilled hand-to-hand combatant. She's well-versed in every ancient form of weaponry, from bow and arrow, spear, axe, sword, shield, basically trained in every martial arts form of combat known on the planet. She's got enhanced strength, she can fly, she's got enhanced stamina, enhanced endurance, the magic lasso of Hestia, which compels people to speak the truth. The God Killer Sword, which is a new thing. She now uses weaponry a lot more in New 52 and Rebirth. You see that also in the movies. The magic bracelets, as I said, would contain the power of Zeus, but you can also smash them together to create energy blasts and waves to knock back her enemies and stagger people. TV and film iterations, there's been many. I'm going to delve straight in and say, without a doubt, probably one of the best iterations of it was the Linda Carter series that ran from 75 to 79. We all know the things on Wonder Woman, you know, fantastic. Now, keep in mind, they cast really well for that role, guys. They picked an American triathlete that competed in the Olympics and won gold medal. So she was stunningly beautiful. She was an accomplished athlete, so she could pull off that side as well. And near the end of the series, they took away more from a lot of scenes were being tied up and all this sort of stuff that people were getting a bit pissed off with, and went more into making her a lot more powerful and leading the way and stuff like that. So she wasn't like a supporting character to the males in her show. She was the lead, without a doubt. Jump forward to the 90s, early 2000s, and you've got the Justice League cartoons and the Justice League Unlimited. The new Justice League animated films like Justice League War, and a bunch of others that are out there at the moment, which are really good, and I would highly recommend you watch them. Essential reading, Wonder Woman titles, graphic novels called Blood, The Circle, Down to Earth, Gods and Mortals, and Odyssey, and Who is Wonder Woman. Essential reading for someone who wants to jump on board the character and just realise she's a lot more than just a two-dimensional character. She actually, along with Superman, epitomises why DC's Justice League is known as the pantheon of the gods, because she's a modern representation of a Greek god come to life. So in that regard, like, you don't get any more powerful females in the comic book world, in my humble opinion. And I have loved to see the development of the character with the new Snyderverse, with the DC EU. absolutely fantastic. I think Gal Gadot has pulled the role off perfectly. The new revamp that the origins go back to World War One rather than the Nazis. Anyone who's seen the movie, Steve Trevor lands on the island. She hears about the plights of the world. They put it down that it's Ares at play, and she's destined to be the person to stop him. So she smuggles him off the island and escapes with the weaponry that we mentioned, the bracelets, the lasso, and the God Killer sword. And basically comes to man's world to try and save us all, and then realises that after defeating him, that a lot of our evil, and that isn't from the gods and stuff like that, a lot of humans are just evil at heart. So she goes into seclusion until the events of Batman v Superman. And when she comes forward there, she realises that she should have stepped forward a lot earlier, and that Superman's led the way in that universe, and that people look at him as a beacon of hope and truth and justice. And she's trying to fulfill the role in Justice League, which I think she does exceedingly well. But really, guys, that's my take on the character. I think she's absolutely fantastic. I love reading her. I love seeing her get developed. I really like how they've handled her in the New 52 and Rebirth. She's a lot more stronger, a lot more independent, a lot more feisty. Just case in point, like for example, you see in Justice League War where Shazam, which they don't realise is really a kid, he's been a bit playful and then on the battlefield, well, she just cracks him one. Wake up to yourself. Like, this is war. You know, like, and you really see that warrior sense of her come through a lot more. So, yeah, guys, really impressed with the character. And stay tuned. Next week, we'll be rolling out another member of the Justice League, trying to get through the 7 founding members, and then we'll be launching into the Avengers. So, guys, if you like the show, remember to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much, guys. This is Jason Bond for The Collectiverse, signing out.